You are welcome to my channel. This is Kevin Davis Accounting. Today I would like us to do a number on a two-column cash book. Remember we started with our introduction to cash book. So today I would like us to have a number together on a two-column cash book, and we see how we can enter the various transactions in the books or in the cash book. Now this is the question. It says enter the following transactions in a double column cash book. So it's a double column cash book. Of course, we shall have our title as two column cash book. This is how the format looks like of a two column cash book. Now, let us see. The first transaction says cash balance brought forward on January 1st. So we are doing transactions for the month of January. And on January 1st, it says that there was a cash balance brought forward worth 10,900. So we say we are doing for the month of January, and on first we have balance brought forward, and it is a cash balance. So if it's a cash balance, we record it under the cash column. So it's a cash balance worth 10,900. That is our first transaction. So we have entered it in the cash book. Very, very simple. Now we go to the next one. The next one, on the 2nd of January, we are seeing cash sales worth 14,000. So we have sales on the 2nd, sales, and they were cash sales. That means we are recording them under the cash column. So we have 14,000 shillings. So we have entered another transaction, or our second transaction, in the cash book. Then we have a third transaction. It says paid cash into bank. Paid cash into bank. Now, this is what they call a contra entry. I talked about a contra entry. Now, paying cash into bank, it means we are shifting money from our drawer to the bank account. So if it is paid, if we paid cash into bank, that means our bank account is going to receive cash. And this is on the third. Cash into bank, it was worth how much? It was worth 8,000 shillings. So we record 8,000 shillings into our bank account, and we show that this is a contra entry. Then we come also on our credit side of the cash book, and we show that on the 3rd of January, we actually credited to the bank cash worth 8,000 shillings, and we show that this is a contra entry. So that's how a contra entry is. So the reason as to why this appears the same, because this amount cancels out this amount, because there's no increase in the amount of money that you have either in the bank or in the cash, because it's still your money. It's like taking your money from one pocket to another. It still remains the same amount of money. Now we go on the 4th. On the 4th of January, he purchased goods by check. Purchased goods by check. So these are purchases. So if there are purchases, we come here and say on the 4th, we have purchases. But then these purchases, they were how much? They were 3,600, and it was by check. So if it is by check, we come and record in the bank column that we recorded, we purchased using check. So when you see they mention check, he bought by check, he received a check. So we are affecting the bank account. So when you receive check, our bank account is going to increase. When we pay by check, our bank account is going to decrease. We credit our bank account when we pay by check. When we receive an amount by check, we debit our bank account. Now, our next transaction was on the 5th of January. It says sales by check worth 400 shillings. So we come and say on the 5th, we have sales, and this time it is by check, and they are worth 400 shillings. So you see how it is very, very simple. It's all about knowing where to place which transaction, which one is a payment and which one is a receipt. So if it is a receipt, you place it on the debit side. If it is a payment, you place it on the credit side. So the only challenge would be where to place it, either under the cash or under the bank. So that's the only thing that's there. So it's very, very simple. Our next transaction says, and it's on the 8th, we have cash sales worth 2,400. So on the 8th, we still have sales and it's by cash. So they're saying cash sales, and this time it is by cash, and it's 2,400. 2,400. You can see how it is. Then our next transaction is paid cleaner in cash. Paid cleaner in cash worth 200. So we come here. Which date was that? It was on the 9th. So on the 9th, we say cleaner. How much was it? Paid cleaner in cash worth 200. So we come on our and we say 200. So you see how it is. So then we go to our next transaction. Our next transaction is paid for petrol by cash worth 300. So we come here. It was on the 10th. So on the 10th, we paid for petrol and it was by cash worth 300 shillings. Then our next transaction is cash sales still. We have cash sales. So these are sales by cash. So that means we come here. Which date was that? It was on the 11th. So on the 11th, we have sales. They were by cash. They are worth 1,800. So we bring here and say 1,800. So the difference is knowing where to place which amount of money under which column. So that's how we can do our cash book. Now, the next transaction says paid cash into bank. Paid cash into bank. So again here we are paying into the bank account. So it means paid cash into bank. We come here and say bank. Remember, we are paying cash to bank. It's paid cash into bank. So we have our cash. Since it's done, we are paying in the bank. So the bank is receiving the cash. That's how much the bank is receiving 4,000 and so on the 12th. So it is 4,000 and so on the 12th. So we show that this is a contra entry. So if it is paid cash into bank, so this time we show that the cash was paid to bank. In the bank column we show this. Then we come on this side as well and we indicate that we credited to the bank cash worth how much? 4,000, and you indicate that this is a contra entry. So that's how it is. So the interpretation of this is we credited to the bank cash worth 4,000 and our bank received cash worth 4,000. So that's the contra entry. Now we go to our next transaction. So our next transaction, it says purchased goods by check worth 3,000. Purchased goods by check. This is the 15th. So on the 15th, we have purchases. But they're saying we purchased goods by check. They are worth 3,000 shillings. Yes. So we come to the bank side and we say 3,000 shillings. So that's how we do the cash book, and that's how it flows. It's very, very easy. Very, very easy. Then the next transaction, it says received check from Mukasa at 2,600. So we received check. Which date was that? We received check on the 16th. So on the 16th, we received the check from Mukasa. So when we receive a check, it means we are effecting the bank account. So we come here and say 2,600. So that's how it is. Then our next transaction is on the 17th, where it says we paid wages in cash. We paid wages in cash worth 600. So we come, it is on the 17th. So we say wages, and they were in cash, they were worth 600 shillings. So that's how we do our cash book. Then our next transaction says paid rent by check worth 1,000. So paid rent by check worth. So we come here and say rent and it was by check. So if it's by check, we bring it to the bank account, it is worth 1,000. So that's it. Then our next transaction was on the 22nd, received cash from Kizito worth 22,000. So we come on the 22nd, we say Kizito. So we received cash from Kizito. This time it's not check, it's cash. So if it is cash, we indicate how much it is in the cash column. So it is 22,000 shillings. So that's the cash we received from Kizito. Then our next transaction says paid cash into bank worth 4,000 shillings. Paid cash into bank. Now, it's a contra entry still. It's on the date of 25th. So on the 25th, we paid cash into bank and it was worth how much? It was 4,000. So we indicate that it's a contra entry. So we come this side and say still on the 25th, we paid or we credited cash to the bank account worth 4,000 shillings and it was a contra entry. So that's how it looks and that's how the cash book is. It's very, very easy. Then we have our last transaction which says received cash from Opolot worth 1,600. So on that 26th, it says received cash from Opolot. So this is, if it is cash, we put it on the cash column. So this is how we do the cash book. Now, our transactions are now done. We are going to look at the bit of balancing it off. So when we are balancing it off, this is what we do. And I know people have challenges here. So this is how we are going to balance off our cash book. And I want you to watch. So we are going to go column by column and we shall compare each column. That means we shall add up the total amount in the cash column and write it down before posting it as a total here. Then also we find out the total cash this side and we compare the two columns. The one that is heavier, we shall record the total amount of the heavier side on both sides of the cash column. Then we shall get that heavier side minus the lower side. When now the balance will become the cash carried down, and it's what we shall put above here. I repeat, these columns, you are going to compare both columns. So the column that is heavy on both sides, we shall place its figure here and here, the same figure. Now the column that has a lower balance or a lower amount, we shall subtract that amount from the figure that we have got from the other from the heavier side. Then the balance is what we shall take as balance carried down and balance brought down. For example, let's do a total sum of this. When you add up the 52,700 on one side, then we have 17,100. So on the cash, this is on the debit side and this is on the credit side. So it means our debit side is this and it's heavier than the credit side. So it means we are supposed to take this and record it on the cash column under the debit side and also on the credit side. We shall say 52,700, 52,700. Now, the remaining part will be the difference between this, and it will become our balance carried down. For our balance carried down will be 35,600. So the same now becomes our balance brought down as 35,600. So that's how it is, and that's how we balance off our cash. Now we are done with the cash column. Now we are going to the bank column. So let's compare the two figures in the bank column. We are going to add up here and also add up here. We see which side is heavier. When you see the debit side is 19,000, if you add up the total of this, 19,000. Each side of the bank, when you add up this, we have 19,000. So when we add up this, you can see this is 6,600 and this is 7,000. So you say this is 7,600. Still, we compare the two sides. Which one looks heavier? Now, you see that the debit side is heavier than the credit side. So you bring the 19,000 here and the 19,000 here. So we have to look for the balance. Now, the balance that is remaining is between 19,000 minus the 7,600. And asking figure becomes 11,400. So our balance carried down, and our balance carried down becomes 11,400. And we have balanced off our cash book. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what they call a cash book, and that's how we balance off our cash book. So basically, it's very, very simple. It's all about knowing which one is a receipt, which one is a payment, which one do we place where. So that's all about the two-column cash book. Thank you so much for watching. This is Kevin Davis Accounting. Share to your friends so that they can also have some learning like you do, and tell them there's free learning here. Subscribe and don't forget to hit on the bell button. Thank you so much. It's a goodbye for now.